Till now we know that string is an immutable class. But what makes a class immutable? How string is an immutable class? Can we create our own immutable class? Namaste everyone, I am Gyan and you are watching the session 18 of Java and Web, String API in Java. Truly speaking, there is nothing special with immutable classes. Various methods of a class make it immutable or mutable. If the methods which can do changes in an object do not change inside an existing object but create a new object for the change, then the class becomes immutable. So whenever there is a change in a content of the class object, the method which is changing the content do not change the content of the object, but instead of that, the method will create a new object for the changed content. All immutable classes should be final so that no one can extend it and override its methods. The class java.lang.string is a final class. If you look at the source code of java.lang.string class, you will find that the class string is a final class. And if you check out the different methods of java.lang.string class, they are doing the same. If they have to make a change in a string object, then they do not change in the string object, but instead they create a new string object with the changed content. And this is the properties of all the methods of java.lang.string. The data members of java.lang.string are private and their methods does not update contents of existing objects. Here in this case, we are creating our own immutable class first.class. We have the Java file first.java. In the first.java we have the class first. In the class first we have the private integer variable I. Then we have the constructor of the class first, which accepts an integer argument. Then we are updating the field I of the class first with the formal argument I of the constructor. Then after we have the method modify, which accepts an integer as argument. Then we are checking if the field I of the class first is equal to the variable I in the argument of the method modify. Is it equal? If yes, then return this. That means if the field I of the class first contains a value 2 and the argument passed to the method modify is also 2, then we are checking if the field I is equal to the argument passed to the method modify. If they are equal, then we do not need to create a new object for the change because there is no change. Whatever we want to change is similar to previous one. That's how in this case we will return the reference of the current object. But if the argument passed to the method modify is not equal to the field I, then in that case we need to create a new object of type first and return the reference to the newly created object. And at this time we will create the new object with the argument which has been passed to the method modify. So in this case we are creating a new object and returning the reference to the newly created object. Here we have the Java file use.java. In use.java we have the class use. In the class use we have the method main. In the method main we are creating a new object of type first which contains the value 2 as its argument. So a new object of type first will be created whose reference will be stored into the reference variable f1. Here again a new object of type first will be created whose reference will be stored into the reference variable f2. At this time the content of the newly created first object will be 3. Then after we are calling the method modify by using the reference variable f1. We are calling the method modify with the argument 4. That means we want to change the value of the field I of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable f1. Then the method modify checks if the caller object's I means f1.I is equal to 4 or not. In this case the field I of f1 is 2 which is not equal to 4. That's how in this case the method modify will create a new object with the content 4 and will return the reference to the newly created object, and that will be stored into the reference variable f3. So if you check if f1 is equal to f3 or not, then no, they are not equal, because f1 contains reference to a separate object whose field I is 2, but f3 contains the reference of a separate object whose field I is 4. In the next case we are calling the method modify by using the reference variable f2 with the argument 3. Then here in this case we will check if the field I of the reference variable f2, that is 3, is equal to the value passed to the argument of the method modify or not. That means 3 is equal to 3 or not. Yes, in this case these two values are equal. That's how the method modify in this case will return whatever the reference is stored in the reference variable f2. If you check f2 is equal to f4 or not, yes, f2 is equal to f4 because both have same content. Here the method modify have not created a new object for this method call. That's how f2 is equal to f4. f2 and f4 are containing the same content. So here we have created our own immutable class and used it. Objects of java.lang.string are immutable. That is, we cannot make any change in existing object. If there is any change in the object, then new object with changes gets created. The concept of SCP makes an object of java.lang.string reusable by other references, which improve memory utilization and performance. We already know the concept of SCP in the previous videos of this session. If an object is being referenced by many reference variables in SCP, and object is not immutable, then change in an object because of one reference variable will affect others. We know that if an object is present in the SCP, that object may be referenced by many reference variables. So if that object is not immutable, then in that case, changes made by one reference variable may affect other reference variables too. This is the reason behind immutability of the java.lang.string object. Many newcomers may have confusion between final and immutability of an object. Final and immutable are two different things. By declaring a reference variable final, we just stop possibility of reassignment of that variable with different object reference. That means the reference variable cannot be changed to point to some other object. That means if a reference variable is final, then that reference variable cannot point to some other object. That reference variable cannot be changed. But it does not mean that the object a reference variable is pointing cannot be changed. The object can change, but the reference variable cannot change if it's final. Declaring a reference variable final does not mean for immutability of the object it is referring. Here in this case, we are creating a new string buffer object which contains hi. The string buffer object is not an immutable class. So we can change the content of a string buffer object. But the reference variable SB of type string buffer is final. That's how the content of SB cannot be changed. Notice here that the content of SB cannot be changed. But the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable SB can be changed. Content of the object can be changed, but content of the SB cannot be changed. That's how when we call sb.append with the string hello will be appended to the string hi, and the content of the string buffer object will be changed to hi hello. Notice here that here we are not creating a new string buffer object for the changed content as we did with the string class. Here the same string buffer object is getting changed with the new changed content. And again, by using the append method, we are changing the content of the object. We are not changing the SB itself. When we try to change the content of SB, here we are trying to change the content of SB with the reference of new string buffer object. In that case, the compiler will throw an error. So making a reference variable final does not make an object referenced by this reference variable immutable. That's all for this video, guys. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe my channel on YouTube, like my page on Facebook, and leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.